Hello, Stratters. This is Nick, known as the Exalted One on Magic the Gathering Online, here with another modern deck tech. Today we'll be playing Temur Midrange. So, Temur Midrange is, at its base, sort of a blue-red control deck. So we have cards like Serum Visions, Lightning Bolt, Snapcaster Mage, and Cryptic Command. You can pepper in some extra removal spells. I have some Flame Slash, Roast, and Electorlyze, some additional counter magic in Mana Leak and Spell Snare. So that's sort of the core of the deck, is this blue-red control deck. Just playing a pure blue-red control deck, you don't have a ton of great ways to end the game. So that's what you splash green for. So we have Tarmogoyf, which is probably the best mana cost to power ratio in all of Modern. So 2 mana gets you often a 3/4 larger, as well as Huntmaster of the Fells, which is a nice value creature that also plays well with the flash aspect of the deck. So you can play your Huntmaster of the Fells, gain a little bit of life, get your 2/2 Wolf, and then if you're able to untap with it, you can pass the turn with any number of instants up. So, playing a Huntmaster and when it survives passing the turn with a Cryptic Command is a really nice feeling and something I really enjoy about the deck. The only other green card that we have in the deck besides these two is Void Grafter. So if you haven't seen this card before, it is a 2/4 flash devoid creature. When Void Grafter enters the battlefield, another target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn. So before, when I played this deck, I might have played some more Mana Leaks or Spell Snares, some more of those counters. But I often found myself countering removal spells, people terminating my Huntmasters or fatal pushing my Tarmogoyfs, things like that. And so Void Grafter is a somewhat like a counter spell for removal in that sense, since it gives the creature hexproof. But it's also just a 2/4 body, so you're able to counter that spell but gain a little bit of tempo by having that extra body on the battlefield. You also just want a little bit more threat density in general with this deck, and Void Grafter helps with that. The Devoid isn't too relevant. Probably the most interesting thing that ever happens with the Devoid is against Affinity, somebody swings in with an Etch champion that has protection from all colors, and then I'm able to swoop in and eat it with a 2/4 Void Grafter. So the only kind of interesting thing with the deck besides Void Grafter and maybe some of these removal and counterspell choices is this card, Pull from Tomorrow. So a new card from Amonkhet, draw X cards, then discard a card for X blue blue. So some people said this is kind of like a Sphinx's Revelation, and I'm not sure whether it's better or worse. It really depends on whether you value that life gain or not. If you value the life gain, then obviously Sphinx's Revelation is better. But if you don't value the life gain, Pull from Tomorrow just allows you to see more cards, even if you're not going up any number of cards like you would a Sphinx's Revelation. And I think that's pretty good for this particular deck. There's a lot of very narrow cards in here. Sometimes you'll have a roast and your opponent has flyers on board. It's a mana leak, but it's turn 8 and it's probably not going to do very much. Spell Snare against a deck that doesn't play any 2-drops, things like that. So you can pull from tomorrow, get rid of some of these dead cards, and always in the late game, you'll have extra lands to discard to avoid flooding out. Uh, Speaking of discarding lands to avoid flooding out, we have Desolate Lighthouse as a similar effect. So, uh, one blue red, draw a card, then discard a card. It just keeps your draws smooth, keeps you from flooding out, getting rid of some of these narrow cards that I'd mentioned before. And I decided not to go with any man lands or anything like that in this deck. I decided to be all in on Desolate Lighthouse as being my utility land of choice, and wanting all of my lands to come into play untapped as much as possible so I can cast my 4-drops and Huntmaster of the Fells and Cryptic Command. For a while I was playing some number of Spirebluff Canals or Lumbering Falls, cards like that, and I just didn't care for them as much. I think Desolate Lighthouse is a fine card to be playing and does exactly what we want in this deck. So that's the main deck. Turning our attention to the sideboard, we have a few different options here. So a small suite of counter magic. So we have Negates, Disdainful Stroke, Dispel. This is kind of a wide variety of counter magic pieces. You know, Dispel's good against opposing control decks or against certain combo decks that have instants that are important, as well as things like Burn. Negate, also good against Burn, different combo and control decks. Disdainful Stroke, good against, Tron primarily or the Eldrazi deck, but you can bring in against other decks that have very critical converted mana cost 4 or greater spells to resolve. Vendilion Clique, a nice card against combo decks. It's both disruption and a clock. You're able to, peel a key card out of their hand and then start attacking with this 3/1 flyer. Anger of the Gods is our sort of sweeper effect, so this would be good against the collected company decks of the format. Things like the Abzan company deck, which is especially starting to pick up since there's a new combo you can play in it, as well as elves or different creature decks like that. Ancient Grudge, primarily for affinity, but can come in any sort of matchups where our opponents will have artifacts. Tireless Tracker is a nice sort of card advantage card. If at any point we feel like our counter spells aren't going to be very easy to leverage, we can bring in our Tireless Trackers. Anything like against a Jund deck where the game's going to go long and Mana Leak might not be the best card, or things like that. Also, sometimes if we're playing against a very, very narrow combo deck where all of our removal is dead or something like that, we might bring in Tireless Tracker just for a little added threat density. Engineered Explosives, just nice versatile answer card. And then finally, Scrabbling Claws is the graveyard hit of choice that I've decided to go with. So it's very comparable to Relic of Progenitus. The first ability is exactly the same as Relic of Progenitus. Just tap target player exiles a card from his or her graveyard. But then the second ability is different. So when you sacrifice it to draw the card, you exile target card from a graveyard. So this is nice because we have our own Snapcaster Mages and Tarmogoyfs. We don't want to be shutting those cards off. But if we're playing against some sort of graveyard-based deck, or a deck that utilizes their graveyard, we can still get a nice effect out of this card. So I think it's a little bit better against decks that have their own Snapcaster Mages, but probably quite a bit worse against very graveyard-centric decks like Dredge. So that is the sideboard, and this is Temur Midrange, so I'll be playing a few matches with this. I hope you enjoy them, and I will see you at the matches. Stay tuned, Stratters! Hello, Stratters. Here we are playing Temur Midrange in Modern, and I'm on the play. So this hand is not very good. One land, a couple 4-drops, expensive spells. I think I'm going to mulligan and see if we can do better. And this looks much better to me. So we'll go ahead and keep this with our scry. I think what we want to do is probably just fetch a breeding pool on turn 1, play Serum Visions, turn 2, play the Tarmogoyf, so I don't think we really want to necessarily keep or get rid of this since our game plan involves shuffling it. So I'll go ahead and do just that. So another Serum Visions was the draw. I like Snapcaster Mage. I'll put that on top, and then this island on top of that. And given that we drew another Serum Visions, I'm feeling like perhaps firing off Serum Visions, then keeping up Spell Snare. If our opponent plays a mana accelerant here, so maybe we Flame Slash this Bird's hold up Spell Snare. I think I like that, especially with having the Snapcaster Mage on top of the library. We know that we'll be able to Snapcaster back the Flame Slash if that is a play that we want to make. Sometimes if you only have one removal spell, you might not want to. Ooh, and I'm very happy that we held up this Spell Snare because Voice of Resurgence is a really annoying card for this deck. Anyways, if you only have one removal spell, you might not necessarily use it on the mana guy, just because you would rather, save it for a more threatening card. So I'm going to keep this Electorlyze on top. I'm going to keep the Sulfur Falls on top of that, play this Tarmogoyf, and pass to the opponent. So I think our game plan is shaping up really nicely here thus far. We were able to, cast a Serum Visions, make some good trades. Now we have a clock in play with Tarmogoyf. I think things are looking pretty good for us. So the opponent plays Oath of Nissa. See what they find. Birds of Paradise. So this is going to help them develop their mana a little bit. Attack with the Tarmogoyf, but passing with Cryptic Command and Snapcaster Mage in hand, I'm feeling pretty good about this. So Path to Exile is going to take our clock off the table. I'm not sure if this is necessarily the thing that we want to fight for. I think I'm going to let this happen. So guess it doesn't matter too much. Probably just get another island. This doesn't look like a deck that would play like a Tectonic Edge to Tectonic Edge me off the green mana from the breeding pool. So the opponent just passes with nothing happening. So this land I'll play, probably fetch out another green source, just in case something weird happens. Is this a Collected Company? Restoration Angel. Okay, so this is probably some sort of Kiki Court style deck. So I'm going to fetch, counter draw, and let's see, do we need another green source? It might be good just to have it just in case. Counter draw the Restoration Angel. Ooh, we drew another Tarmogoyf. That's really nice. So the opponent has been missing land drops, which means that they're sitting on all spells in hand, and that's a little bit concerning. Oh, so this might be like the cat combo deck in Modern. So with Felidar, Guardian, and Heliori. And we know that they have a Heliori now. So I'm just going to play this Desolate Lighthouse and pass with Snapcaster Cryptic Command up. 1 mana short of being able to also deploy the Tarmogoyf. I think the opponent is pretty heavily incentivized just to go for it. But I will just Cryptic Command, and I could try to get a little greedy here and go counter bounce my Snapcaster, but that gets blown out pretty well by Path to Exile. The only thing is that with Felidar Guardian on the table, my Snapcaster Mage isn't going to attack very profitably. They can just leave their Felidar Guardian back at any point. So I think I will actually go with counter and return Snapcaster Mage. Oh, almost returned an island there. That would have been bad. So counter target spell, return target permanent. So counter that, return this. Be particularly careful as I'm doing commentary. Always strains a little bit of your mechanics as you play. Okay, so that worked. We have successfully drawn a Snapcaster Mage off of our Cryptic Command. So a new Oath of Nissa. Let's see what they find. No cards. Wow. That's... I wonder what... if that was an accident? So I don't want to just die to the combo, and my only real way out of it is to Snapcaster Flame Slash. I just want to count some mana here. So Snapcaster Mage, Flame Slash, and play the Tarmogoyf as well. So Tarmogoyf is a large creature at this point, 6/7, since we have both Planeswalker and Enchantment in the yard, in addition to the more usual types. And I kept the land in hand because of the Desolate Lighthouse. At this point, I don't think we really need any more lands. So Eldritch Evolution away the Birds of Paradise. Probably going to get them some sort of nice 3-drop. Maybe they have something like a Fiend Hunter. Maybe it would be good. Eternal Witness. So Eternal Witness is going to... oh, they just really want another land. Wow. This feels a little bit weird to me because Birds of Paradise effectively was a land. I mean, it was a mana source for them. I guess this upgrades them to a 2/1 in play. So if they're so eager to have a 2/1 in play, I am going to be eager to make them not have a 2/1 in play. So given that I already have one land that I can discard, maybe I'll play one of these lands. It's close. But then again, you know, once I loot and maybe I draw a couple spells, I'll wish that I had kept a land in hand. I guess on this particular turn, but it would also be nice to loot and have access to 1 mana, so if I need a lightning bolt or a spell snare, something like that, I would be able to cast it. So I am going to play this island. So the opponent really wanted another mana, and looks like the game. So this first one, things lined up pretty well for us, and being able to deal with the Birds of Paradise as well as that Voice of Resurgence. The opponent didn't really get beyond 4 mana at any point, and it looked to be stifling them a little bit in that regard. So against this deck, Anger of the Gods, we saw Voice of Resurgence, and that's a really annoying card to deal with, as well as Mana Guys. Mana Leak on the draw can be fairly bad. Maybe I'll take out 2 Mana Leaks. We do want to be able to protect ourselves from the combo. So Lightning Bolt interacts with Saheeli Rai. Flame Slash and Roast deal with the Felidar Guardian. I'm not sure if this is a kind of attrition battle where we want to be bringing Tireless Tracker or not. I think I want to see a little bit more with what's happening in the opponent's deck before I kind of decide what other cards I would like. I could see potentially wanting Negate instead of Mana Leak. We did see Oath of Nissa as well as Saheeli Rai, but it's really difficult to say. So this looks like a pretty nice hand. Bolt for a mana accelerant if they have that, and then following that up with Tarmogoyf, Serum Visions to find more lands. Draw of the Huntmaster is pretty nice as well. Roast gives us protection against Felidar Guardian. So overall, I think this hand is shaping up really nicely. So another bird, and we draw another Tarmogoyf. So I'm going to go ahead and drop one of these Tarmogoyfs into play. Next turn we'll have draw step plus potentially the Serum Visions to find another land if that's what we need to do. But we can always, if the opponent plays a Felidar Guardian, just roast it and continue on. So another Birds of Paradise, but no land again. We don't have lands either. I'm not sure if I want to cast the Serum Visions. I guess if cast the Serum Visions, if we do find an untapped land, we can still play a Tarmogoyf. Cryptic Command, we're just so far off. We already have 2 4-drops in hand. Lightning Bolt is a good card, but I feel like we just want to really hit our land drops. So Tarmogoyf up to a 4/5, and we'll swing in with it. So opponent has access to 4 mana. Yep, Felidar Guardian. Probably Blink. Breeding Pool if they can follow up with like a Oath of Nissa. Just a Birds of Paradise. So the Birds is going to be summoning 6, so they don't get any extra mana out of that. Okay, and they just play a tap land. So maybe seeks to chump block with the Birds. I'm going to attack with our Tarmogoyf, see if that chump block happens. Nope. Okay, and at this point we'll just roast Felidar Guardian. Pass back. So even if the opponent removes Tarmogoyf, it'll probably be with a Path to Exile that gives us another mana source, and I would be fine with that. We could redeploy another Tarmogoyf. What is this? Another Felidar Guardian. Gets the Ghost Quarter. Wonder if they're going to fire this Ghost Quarter off on one of our lands. They might test the theory of whether or not we have a basic mountain in the deck, which we do. So it always feels nice when you make these kind of small deck building concessions, like including, one of each basic in your deck just for situations like this. So I want to attack, see if the opponent is going to chump with the Birds or not. At 10 they might not, but they might. And roast the Felidar Guardian so we don't get comboed out. Pass to the opponent. So the opponent has 4 mana, 6 life against a 4-power Tarmogoyf. Plays the Saheeli Rai. So Saheeli Rai is just such an anemic card on its own. And I'm not sure whether... Okay, so having drawn this Desolate Lighthouse... Well, first I'm going to attack with the Tarmogoyf. I think I just want to attack the opponent. So this is going to squeeze them a couple different ways. If the opponent doesn't block, I can just, Snapcaster Lightning Bolt and finish the game. So the opponent had some rough mana issues. Granted, we did as well this particular game. Okay. But I think overall, having access to just a quick clock like Tarmogoyf, as well as the roast that we drew, ended up proving to be what won us this match. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll stay tuned for the following matches.